Hi everyone. It just suddenly dawned on me that actually I should probably do a pre-brew day video, prep for brew day video. So I thought I'd just let you see what I'm doing now at, you can see roughly about what the time is. Friday Night Drinks Club, I've been out for a few beers. Ahead of the brew day tomorrow, which hopefully we'll video and get you guys to see, and we'll do a whole kind of life cycle bottling and everything hopefully. So I just thought I'd let you see the starter that I'm making. So I thought I'd just take you through quickly the starter process and what I do, just in case any of you guys want to see it. So yeah, let's get into it. So I've actually jumped ahead a little bit of a step here, but I didn't think it was that important to show you, and there's a few bits and pieces going on here. So this, you can see here, is 2 litre sort of good old-fashioned conical science from back in the old days, school type thing. This is a 1 litre. And the one thing I've learned here is I bought a 1 litre initially, actually for making starters. Invariably all my starters are 1 litre. Actually a 1 litre is a bit too small, fills it up quite high. When you're doing the stirring to try and get the air into it, it's a bit small, so actually going for a 2 litre is a bit of the way forward. So all I've got in here is literally, I filled this with 1 litre. 1 litre of tap water, nothing else. And there's a really simple way to make your starters. It's a 10-to-1, in my mind, after a few beers. It's a 10-to-1 ratio. So if you do 1 litre of water, it's 100 grams of this. So this is what I use to make my starters with. Good old-fashioned spray malt, extra light, nothing else, nothing clever, cheap as chips. Buy this from your homebrew store, whatever you like. Measure it out with a, oh, here we go. You'll recognise these scales from my hop measurements. So with this, measure 100 grams of this into there with 1 litre, job done. What you then need to do, cover it with some silver foil, bring it up to the boil gently, not vigorous. You'll notice on my 1970s cooker here, which you might have seen from the previous videos, I'm actually bringing this up on a really low heat. You do not want this to boil over. This is super sticky, sweet, juicy stuff. This will boil over super easy, so you've got to bring this up to a really slow boil. The idea is that you bring this up to a boil, leave it for kind of 15-20 minutes at a really low boil, sterilises the whole thing, sterilises the water, gets everything ready for you to add your yeast. Now, admittedly, I haven't done a yeast washing video yet, but I will. I'll get there eventually. So this is, as you can see, Y yeast 1318, London Ale number 3, which I've made all my porters with. Tomorrow I'm going to be attempting to make a first version of what I call West Coast porter, but we'll cover out that a little bit later. So this is good washed yeast I've got here, all ready to go. So I've taken it out of the fridge and it's warming up to room temperature. It's still quite cold, so I've stored it in my fridge about sort of 6 or 7 degrees. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this slowly warm up to room temperature. I'm going to get this up to the boil really gently, let this boil for 50 minutes, and then I'm going to cool it down. I'll probably give you a little bit of a shot of, because this is borosilicate glass, it can put up with sudden temperature changes, so I'm probably going to drop this into some cold water just to drop it down, so I can give this a good 24 hours after I add all this in to get going as a starter, to basically, I think it's 2.5 times its own cell count, so it should get going good and proper. So yes, now what I've tend to found is that actually this is really good for yeast washing, because it's just the 1 litre in small batches with pre-boiled water out of the bottom of the fermenter is really good for yeast washing, but we'll cover yeast washing in a different video altogether. So there you go. So that's everything here, really light DME, so 1 to 100, 10 to 100, whichever way you want to look at it really. 1 litre of water, 100 grams DME, cannot go wrong. Bring that up to a nice gentle boil, that's going on at the moment. We've got our harvested yeast getting up to room temperature quite nicely, and yeah, and we'll get into it, and we'll let this grow for 24 hours and then pitch it into the wort that we're going to make tomorrow. So hopefully we'll get a video of the West Coast porter that we're going to be making tomorrow. So yeah, good stuff. Well, welcome back again. You'll notice that this is now empty and washed, actually, funnily enough, because we had a bit of a messy accident. Kind of prevented me videoing it at the time, because I kind of needed 2 hands, because we had a bit of a yeast explosion accident. It's caught me out a number of times actually, that even though the yeast has been dormant at like 19-20 degrees, when you rack everything off to the secondary and you wash all the yeast and you put it into a bottle and store it in the fridge at like 5 or 6 degrees, when you get it back out again, it kind of seems to find a new lease of life, kind of spring back into life and start producing loads of CO2. What I forgot to do, and that I found should do really, is crack the top and get rid of the liquid that kind of usually fills sort of about half of it, and leave the lid slightly cracked off, because the yeast seems to come into life, starts to eat some of the sugar reserves that it's got because it's suddenly woken back up, starts to produce low CO2. So what I ended up with was basically a yeast bomb. So as I took the lid off, I had a bit of spray everywhere of the yeast and stuff, but we've cleaned all that up now. But what you will see is, we'll just pop that right down there, is so I pitched the yeast into the starter, which is now cooled quite nicely, and it's in there. A bit more volume than what I was hoping, again because I didn't take the liquid off of the yeast store before I put it in. So I'm actually it's sort of about 1.3 litres now, but I kind of assume that'll be alright. Over pitching is better than under pitching, and ultimately we'll just drain all the liquor off before we actually dose the yeast into the wort. But if you have a quick look, let me just turn you around. So there is the yeast slurry from my last porter brew, which is pitched in there, given a good old shake and aerate. I don't have a stir plate actually, so I tend to give it a good old shake whenever I'm passing, to get it in there. That will go for 24 hours to pitch, ready for back end of tomorrow, hopefully when the brew day's finished. So it's a little bit darker there because of the porter liquor where I washed the yeast off of the last brew, but hopefully that won't make a difference. I'm going to leave it on this tea towel because I have found before in the past that actually the yeast gets a little bit overexcited and does seem to kind of make its way up and spill out over the top and goes all over the work surface, and that never goes down well with the wife. So so yeast is pitched, starter's on its way, brew day tomorrow, job done. I'll see you then.